Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're looking at a deeply emotional, almost mythic narrative. It's a story that really gets at the profound connection between us, nature, and those absolutely majestic creatures living out in the wild. We're skipping the dry statistics today, you guys. Instead, we're stepping right into the forest to explore the legend of the animal guardians, zooming in specifically on the heroic spirits of the fox and the wolf. It's a beautifully rich, yet honestly kind of tragic message about wildlife conservation, empathy, and the undeniable real-world consequences of our actions. I really want you to think about this question for a second. Who is the real monster in the dark? Think about it. From the time we're little kids, fairy tales and folklore basically condition us to be terrified of the deep woods, right? We're fed stories of the big bad wolf and the sly fox. We literally picture gleaming fangs and glowing eyes just waiting for us in the shadows. But as these legends so powerfully point out, we really need to ask ourselves, when we peer into that darkness of the forest, who is actually the invader? Who's causing the real destruction here? Which brings us to a pretty profound realization. As one account perfectly puts it, in the forest, the scariest thing isn't the howl of a wolf, but the smell of gunpowder. Just let that sink in for a moment. To the animals actually living in their natural habitat, the true terror doesn't come from a natural predator just, playing its normal role in the ecosystem. No, the true terror is completely unnatural. It's the scent of chemicals, burning metal, and gunpowder. It's that sudden, violent reality of human encroachment that completely shatters the peace of the wild. Let's move to and see how this builds into part one, Legend of the Guardians, focusing on the spirits of the fox and wolf. So, these ancient narratives frame these animals not as mindless beasts, but as these noble entities. They have families, emotions, and a surprisingly fierce sense of justice. They're basically the original protectors of the forest, representing this deep, primal loyalty. A guardian spirit is defined exactly like this. It's a soul dedicated to the protection of nature, guided by a pure instinct to shield the weak and preserve the balance of the forest. The little fox and the little wolf in these tales, they represent a raw, beautiful empathy. They don't take more than they need. They aren't destroying their environment out of greed. Their whole existence is literally about maintaining the delicate balance of their home. They are the true guardians. But this delicate balance is violently disrupted in part two, The Tragedy of the Silver Wolf, A Family Broken. Now, this isn't just a story of an animal dying. It's the story of a family being absolutely torn apart by human greed. It's that devastating moment where our world collides with theirs. Let's walk through this timeline together, because it's heartbreaking. It starts in a peaceful den. A mother wolf is resting safely with her newborn pups. Just a pure picture of familial love. Then, out of nowhere, the flash of light. Blinding spotlights pierce the pitch black, right alongside the deafening roar of engines and that suffocating smell of gunpowder we talked about. And then, in a desperate bid for survival, we see the ultimate sacrifice. The parent wolves don't just run away to save themselves. Actually, scratch that. They do the exact opposite. They throw themselves right into harm's way, falling to the hunter's bullets for one reason: to buy their pups just enough time to escape into the dark. Finally, we're left with the lingering spirit. The surviving pups are orphaned, carrying the incredibly heavy legacy of their parent sacrifice, crying out for a kind of justice that the human world almost never gives them. This leads us right into part three, The Firefox's Sacrifice, Finding Love Amidst the Ashes. You see, this tragedy isn't just an isolated incident. It perfectly mirrors the heartbreaking story of the firefox, exposing another really dark facet of human exploitation. Here we see love persisting even in the literal ashes of a destroyed home. The steps of this tragedy unfold with such desperate urgency. First, we've got the firefox family fleeing through a forest that has been absolutely ruined by human pollution, and they're being relentlessly chased down by hunting dogs. Second, completely cornered and exhausted, the mother fox does the only thing she can. She literally becomes a living shield, taking the full brunt of the attack just so her pups have a chance to run. And the third step, which is honestly the most enraging part of this whole narrative, this ultimate loss of life happens solely for the human fur trade. This mother didn't die for a natural cause or because of the food chain. She died so her coat could become some luxury accessory. It's just devastating. So the crucial point is really captured in part four, The True Monsters, separating myths versus reality. So we have to ask ourselves, who are the true monsters here? This narrative fundamentally challenges the stories we've all been spoon-fed, forcing us to separate those comforting myths from the really uncomfortable truths about nature. On one hand, we have the human myth, this ingrained idea that wolves are evil, foxes are thieves, and the wild is just jam-packed with savage beasts waiting to attack us. But then, on the other side, we have nature's truth. And the truth is, these animals are just trying to protect their families and survive. That's it. They don't start wars. They don't hunt for sport. It is us, humans, who violently encroach on their homes, destroying their habitats, and then we have the nerve to blame the animals when they're forced into our newly paved territories just to find a scrap of food. And this brilliantly illustrates the core argument we're unpacking today. Look, nature has this incredible system of natural balance. It's a self-regulation where predator and prey populations naturally, almost effortlessly manage themselves. But human greed, whether that's hunting for sport, trophies, or fur, it completely bypasses and annihilates that ecosystem. We cause massive habitat loss, forcing these animals into desperate, totally avoidable conflicts with us. And then we rely on the demonization tactic. We literally invent scary stories about these animals to justify the violence we inflict upon them. We paint them as the villains so we don't have to feel an ounce of guilt when we pull the trigger. But there is hope, which brings us to part 5, Awakening the Guardian Spirit, a modern choice. The narrative doesn't just leave us drowning in despair, thankfully. It brings the legend right into the present day. Because right now, in our modern world, we actually have the power to flip the script. We have the ability to awaken that guardian spirit within ourselves. And the message is incredibly clear. The guardian spirit isn't just some ancient, dusty myth. It lives on today, right now, whenever we choose compassion. The lore highlights a really specific, practical choice, like simply choosing to wear faux fur instead of the real thing. By making that one simple decision, you're ensuring that no mother fox or father wolf had to sacrifice their life for your outfit. You are actively protecting the vulnerable. You're choosing, in a very real way, to be a guardian. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this single number highlighted here, 1, because it really only takes one person to start dismantling these myths. It takes just one person choosing empathy over apathy to act as a true guardian. You don't need a cape or superpowers to protect the forest, you know? You just need to make conscious, compassionate choices in your everyday life. Every single choice matters. It starts with one. Which brings us to our final section, part 6, Extinction is Forever, the Final Echo. As we draw this explainer to a close, we really have to confront a very solemn reality. The stakes of this narrative are incredibly high, and the consequences of ignoring the guardian spirit, well, they're irreversible. Habitat loss and the cruel fur trade are actively, right this second, silencing the forest. These accounts remind us with absolute chilling clarity, extinction is forever. When we hunt a species out of existence, when we bulldoze their home until there is literally nowhere left to run, they don't come back. The silence they leave behind is permanent. Yet even staring down that stark reality, we are left with this beautifully powerful thought from the text. Extinction is forever, but love is immortal. The love those parent wolves had for their pups, the ultimate sacrifice of that mother fox, that energy, that primal instinct to protect, it echoes through time. And it is that exact same love and empathy that we, as humans, are fully capable of tapping into right now to save what is left. So I'm going to leave you with this final provocative question. Knowing the truth behind the fairy tales, knowing the sheer tragedy of the fur trade and habitat loss, and knowing that you hold the actual power to make a difference, what kind of guardian will you choose to be? Are we going to let the forest fall completely silent, or will you stand up for the spirits of the fox and the wolf? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Think about your choices today, and I'll catch you next time.